Speaker number 2, Ria Sui Singh, with liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all, Ria Sui Singh.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all. Did you ever stop to think, what does that mean? When I was a child, I believed that to mean freedom and fairness, as we recited the Pledge of Allegiance in school every morning to remind us of the mission of this country. My family is Chinese. My parents are from China and Taiwan. I was born in Vietnam. My father moved us all here to America for better life and to get a taste of that freedom and justice. When I was in school, I wasn't that good at history, but I was good at math, and I really liked word problems because they make you think about what the problem really is. My favorite problem was, if a snail climbs up a wall 2 inches a day, it slides back 1 inch a day. How long would it take the snail to get to the top of a 30-inch wall? Sounds like life, doesn't it? Take 2 steps forward, sometimes someone pulls you a step back. You still make progress on the long road towards happiness. When I finally understood history, I realized that the lesson was not to repeat the mistakes we made in the past. For centuries, the Roman Catholic Church dictated that the earth was flat, and that the earth, and not the sun, was the center of the solar system. So Galileo came along with his telescope and dispelled public opinion with real evidence from the sky. In this country for decades, we've had laws enslaving people of color and segregating people of color, until fearless leaders like Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King Jr. fought hard to repeal those laws. And even now, for decades, we still have strong discrimination and laws in some areas against the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community. When Harvey Milk enacted historic gay rights measures in the city of San Francisco, for me and my friends in the LGBT community, that was a huge step forward towards liberty and justice. The other thing I learned about this country is that we have the freedom to believe in whatever you want, and that is a powerful right. So if you wanted to believe that this earth is still flat and not round, you can do that. You can even join the Flat Earth Society. It's a real organization, Google it up. But when we exercise our freedom to create laws that restrict the rights of others, or to segregate others, or to formally not recognize the equality laws created by other states, that's when we create problems. Just imagine what the world would be like if our laws banning same-sex marriages were applied to other minorities instead. What if you were left-handed and the people voted a law that says you can only marry other left-handed people? How would you feel? What if you're a vegetarian and your fellow citizens create a law that says you can only marry other vegetarians, and one day, when your spouse passed away, the judge told you you couldn't inherit his life savings because someone saw him eating a hamburger one day, and therefore he wasn't a vegetarian, and therefore you were never legally married? How would you feel about that? That wouldn't be a step forward. That's a huge step backwards for mankind. Is that liberty and justice? These examples I mentioned about left-handed people or vegetarians, or even pirates, may sound kind of funny and silly, but if you remember, it was only 1967 that interracial marriage was finally declared legal. And it was only last month that President Obama pushed for same-sex visitation rights in hospitals. If you thought that everyone had the right to take care of or even see your loved ones when they got sick, think twice. 3 years ago in Miami, Jackson Memorial Hospital, the 3rd largest public hospital in the US, and also named one of America's best hospitals by U.S. News and World Report, denied a woman from taking care of or even seeing her loving partner of 18 years when her partner collapsed from a massive fatal brain aneurysm and died a few days later in the hospital. Even though she had her medical power of attorney papers in her hand. 2.5 years after her partner died, after a long lawsuit, the federal courts in Miami, our very own Department of Justice, dismissed the case, citing that the hospital had no legal obligation to grant patients access to their families or loved ones. To this day, the hospital has not apologized to this woman or her family, and that's why President Obama gave her his personal apology and vowed to take 2 steps forward toward liberty and justice. We hear stories in the news about people like this woman. We hear news briefs about new laws being passed, sometimes being rejected. And it sounds like the world is making some progress until you go home one day and you hear that someone in your own family, whether it be your own son or daughter, or even your own spouse, or even yourself, say that he or she is different. And then you realize that you and your family are no longer the majority, and all the laws and protection that you had taken for granted may no longer apply. It's a revelation, just as though the solid earth beneath your own 2 feet or the shining sun and the clear blue sky above you were suddenly taken away. And that's where you need to reach deep down inside yourself and find out what is the right thing to do. And that's when you realize this country of ours, the United States of America, as great a place as it is, still has a mission statement which is still a work in progress even after 200 years. And that's where your individual leadership for love and understanding is needed to help those around you find those next 2 steps forward, especially here in California, as we are the thought leaders of this country and the world, to make this place a better place so that someday we can achieve liberty and justice for all. Mr. Toastmaster.